AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. Welcome to Your Health, produced in cooperation and collaboration with the folks at CentraCare. In studio today, we have Katie Kinzer and also Nicky Lahr. Now, Katie is an art therapist at the Coburn Cancer Center. Nicky Lahr with the Coburn Cancer Center as well. But wait now, there's a difference here. The Coburn's Healing Center and the Coburn's Cancer Center. Katie, What is the Coborn Healing Center all about?
Yeah, so the Coborn Healing Center opened about 1 year ago in August of 2018. And it is a center for its supportive services for cancer patients and caregivers. Okay. And, do you want me to go into some of the...
Well, I think of when I think of a place like that, we always hear about, Ronald McDonald House, where people can go and stay if their family is going through this type of therapy or that type of therapy or treatment or what have you. But this is not that, because people don't actually stay there, correct?
Right.
This is for the people who are actually going through that cancer treatment.
Correct.
So what kinds of things happen there?
Yeah, so the Healing Center has lots of different services. As the art therapist, we provide art therapy. We have that a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. We provide acupuncture, acupressure, healing touch. We have a dietitian that comes in and teaches classes. Nikki, what else am I missing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we also have our support group, our cancer education and support group that's hosted monthly. And community events are also held over there from time to time.
What do people need to know about folks who are dealing with cancer? First of all, I cannot imagine. I'm very fortunate. Our family has been spared that one. Everybody has their burdens that they bear. Every family's got something going on, right? I don't know why cancer has not hit our family yet. So when that diagnosis is made, is that when the whole, relationship begins with people who are dealing with this and the facilities at the Coburn Cancer and Healing Center?
Absolutely. I think whenever a person is or a family member is diagnosed with cancer, it kind of rocks their world. It really turns their life upside down and very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it not only affects their medical capabilities, but also their mind, their body, their spirit, and just really as a whole person. Many areas of their life are changed.
So how long has this kind of an attitude been prevalent out there? Are there other cancer healing centers, cancer coping centers around the country?
I'm not positive. I can't speak to other facilities, but there is an awareness that, being successful in your cancer treatment really needs to recognize that it does affect your emotional health. It does affect your well-being as an entire person. And so it's really in the forefront that you need to take care of the whole person versus just their cancer diagnosis.
When people hear that there is a place like this, a facility like this, what's their typical reaction? Are they surprised? Are they thankful? I would think all of the above, right?
Mm-hmm. I think they are thankful that there is support out there. I do feel that, they need to recognize that there is support out there. Others are going through very similar situations. And whether you're the one receiving that support or maybe you're looked at as somebody that somebody looks up to and provides that support to them is so important.
No doubt. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we're still trying to gain exposure for the Healing Center. It seems that even though it's literally just right across the sidewalk, people are not accessing it as much as we would like yet. And I think part of that is that when people are receiving cancer treatments, they are there so often that coming on maybe another day to sign up for a class is it's just something they don't
almost overwhelming.
Yep, something they might not want to do. And so I think we're still trying to figure out how to get more traffic, and so it's kind of slow and steady at this point.
Do they come from central Minnesota? Do you have folks from out of state that may be visiting CentraCare for their cancer treatment and they're staying somewhere else? Can you speak to that?
I would say, I think mostly central Minnesota.
Yeah.
But people, that's a great segue from what we were just talking about, is that some people come from an hour and a half away.
Right.
And so if they're going to come to get their treatments, they're not going to want to come back just a separate time to come utilize the healing center. So we're trying to utilize, like, how can we maybe captivate them on a day that they're there for the treatments? As far as the kinds of cancer, I don't know if I can really speak to that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the groups that I run, Bob, and I would say most is common is breast at this juncture for the groups that I'm running.
Okay,
so I don't know.
Let's talk about males versus females. Do you deal mostly with females?
Yep. So in my in my experience doing this work, females are more likely to come.
Right.
We do have one male, God bless him, who comes, but it seems rare that he does. But it just seems that women are more likely to reach out a little bit.
Guys, I think we need to stop being so, I don't know what word I would, not proud, because I think, well, let me ask this question. What are some of the more typical emotions that you have to deal with? Because that may explain why guys are not coming to the Coburn's Healing Center and participating in some of these art therapies. So who do you deal with? What kinds of emotions other than all of them, huh?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say there's a huge range of emotions, whether it be sadness, whether it be anger, whether it be frustration, or some people have described it as an awakening of, I really need to kind of look at where my life is, and this cancer has kind of, shown what kind of emotions I'm really feeling. You know what?
Let's do this. Let's kind of table this part of the conversation for just a moment. We need to take a break, and when we come back here, I want to get back into that whole emotional roller coaster that people are running. I certainly can understand the anger. Why me? Right? And I certainly can understand the fear part of it. I can also understand the awakening. I've only got so much time. Holy cow, it's time to stop fooling around, isn't it? Our guests in studio this morning, Katie Kinzer. She is an art therapist. And also in studio with us is Nicky Lahr, a licensed social worker at the Coburn Cancer Center. We'll take a quick break. You are listening to Your Health, AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. Back with more of Your Health, produced in cooperation and collaboration with the folks at CentraCare. Today, we are talking about cancer, specifically the Coburn Cancer Center and the Coburn Healing Center. Katie Kinzer is an art therapist, and Nicky Lahr, a social worker at Coburn's Cancer Center and the Coburn Healing Center. All right, just so people are not as confused as I am, Nicky, let's talk about the differences between the two.
Absolutely. The Coburn Cancer Center is where you would go to receive your cancer treatment. We have the medical oncology clinic there, our radiation department, and our infusion center there. It's located in the CentraCare Health Plaza. And the Coburn Healing Center is actually right next door, and it is a kind of a separate part of the building, and that's where our services are offered for the support.
Katie, you had mentioned trying to figure out when is the best time to get the healing side of things, right? The art therapy side of things going. And I understand the conundrum in which you guys find yourselves. Because people are there, they are dealing with so many things, and we'll get to the whole emotional side of this here in just a moment. I look back at some of the care that I have received, and, it doesn't matter if they're going to set you up for some physical therapy or what have you. Time is so valuable, right? And I wonder if it's not about the mindset of getting people to understand you've got some time to take care of yourself here, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't do that. We don't take care of ourselves.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. In fact, what's interesting is that we also offer, with our art therapy groups that we offer, we offer one group for our caregivers.
Okay.
And what I have found is that while their loved one is getting treatments at the clinic, they'll come over if that works out for them. Mm-hmm. So that has been a really nice piece to it if they have to be there anyway. I think, again, it just sometimes people are so, for lack of better words, they're just tired of going there, getting treatments, and they don't want coming to the healing center. Unfortunately, sometimes just reminds them that they have cancer. And so just kind of breaking that stigma a little bit.
So, when you walk into, and I'm sorry, I think it's called the Woodlands, right? Where the main office is there, where you'd go for internal medicine and that kind of stuff. When you walk through those glass doors, right after the piano is there, right?
Yep.
Take a right and go into the chapel.
Yeah.
And it is such a, I don't know, fulfilling or refilling of everything that is so important. And I think people find strength in the strangest places, right? And they may be surprised by going to the art part of this, how much better they feel as opposed to having infusion therapy or whatever, right? The healing process is so huge.
Yeah. Once we can get people in and invested, we find, at least I've found in my groups, is that they stay.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this is really amazing.
Not alone, people to talk with, I can vent, I can cry, I can laugh, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? All right. Let's get back to this whole emotional roller coaster, Nicky, that you folks have to deal with at the Coburn Cancer Center, the Coburn's Healing Center as well. Let's talk about the whole sadness, the fear part of things. How do you deal with all this with all these people?
And I think wherever you are within your treatment, sometimes people are newly diagnosed, some people are receiving treatment, and some people are really cancer survivors that are still looking for some support and that connection. And the Healing Center has been amazing to be able to really offer an array of classes. You know, art therapy is wonderful. We also have a support group that is open to our cancer patients and their caregivers. And anyone living with cancer really is welcome to attend those support groups. They meet monthly, and they are kind of organized. They have a educational topic where a presenter will come and present for about a half an hour. And then we break apart into discussion groups where you can really find strength and resiliency and talking to others about kind of your current situation related to that topic. So it really is a great way for those emotions to really be put out there and to find an environment that it's safe and compassionate to be able to hear others share.
Can you talk about or address what a doctor says, how they break that news to a patient right afterwards? Is that when folks can come over and talk to you?
Absolutely. You know, and the Coborn Healing Center is open to at whatever point, like I said, throughout your cancer treatment, you know, and to speak to kind of, you know, when the doctors share the news, you know, we have some wonderful oncology providers, some wonderful providers in our radiation department that really are very compassionate about, you know, talking to patients about their diagnosis, what it means for their health, and allow for those questions to be asked.
Sure.
You know, and whether that be with a family member involved, sometimes they find out about their diagnosis prior to coming into the cancer center. And so really meeting that person where they're at with their emotions, you know, they're welcome to come over to the Healing Center and just even sit and be in a quiet, welcoming environment and just kind of digest some of that information that they just received.
I could imagine people there, and there must be different types how they decide they're going to deal with this. I want just the facts. I'm going to bring my notebook and I'm going to check my things off 1, 2, 3, 4, and then done, moving on. Right?
Absolutely.
And then there would be those, I might be one of them, that would just be knocked over with a feather. Right? Yeah. And all points in between. Golly. Katie, it appears to me that when I'm saying these things, you deal with all of this in your classes, right?
Yeah. So one of the things, since we're still growing and expanding, is that I'm also a licensed professional clinical counselor.
Okay.
And so we're trying to implement more of our mental health consulting piece into the Healing Center. And like when people are getting those diagnoses, when people are really struggling with some mental health piece with this, because let's face it, it's extremely traumatic, and it is traumatic to get a diagnosis that you potentially could die. And so I don't think that we're doing a good enough job to address those as those come up. Okay. We're trying, but we're trying to figure out a little bit how to implement it.
But that could happen. That could take place years before a diagnosis is given.
Sure.
We don't talk about these things at all in our world in which we live, right? Nobody ever talks about, because we're never going to die. First of all, we're all supermen and women.
Yes.
We're going to live to be 110, right?
So what we're finding is that sometimes people's anxiety that could be from this diagnosis can get in the way of getting their treatment.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes that's almost taking the forefront of that's what we maybe need to treat first. And so we're still kind of working this model out of how do we incorporate that piece.
Sure.
This is what, Nikki and I are teaming up together to figure this out. But we are trying to do better. We're always just we're still growing and expanding.
Well, Nikki, what do you think from your perspective? What gets in the way?
Absolutely. And when we talk about, the mental health component, a huge component, everybody walks through those cancer center doors in a very different point in their life.
Right.
They could have on their mind other barriers to their care. Gosh, I'm really financially struggling. I'm losing my home. I don't have transportation to these appointments. And so we very much try to look at a person as a whole and how can we help try to point you in the right direction for these resources to make your treatment as successful as possible. Because again, it's not just your cancer diagnosis. Your life continues to move on, and whatever struggles you had prior are still there.
There are some things that I never even take into consideration, things like cancer legal care. We're going to talk about that in just a couple of moments. I want to find out about how art works. I mean, I'm a guy, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, right? I am so amazed when I see some of the things that people can create. And then I'm even more amazed. I see the work that they have done while dealing with something as awful and traumatic as a cancer diagnosis, right? Wow. Amazing stuff. Katie Kinzer is our guest. Also, Nicky Lahr, the Coburn Cancer Center, the Coborn Healing Center. We'll take a quick break. You are listening to Your Health, AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. Back with more of Your Health. Couple of experts in studio with us. Nicky Lahr is a social worker with the Coburn Cancer Center, the Coburn Healing Center. Katie Kinzer, an art therapist at the Coburn Cancer Center. Ladies, what is, first of all, I mentioned this phrase that I had never heard about, cancer legal care. Nikki, what is that?
Cancer Legal Care is an organization that is a nonprofit here in Minnesota. They provide legal advice to anyone with a diagnosis of cancer. We're fortunate enough at the Coburn Healing Center that they were going to be coming up to the Healing Center for an event on September 17th. Okay. It's from 1 to 2:30. And this particular event is for patients receiving oncology care from CentraCare or Caris Health. Cancer Legal Care really helps individuals throughout the state of Minnesota to help navigate some areas that really come to the forefront after a cancer diagnosis. Right. And anywhere from, what rights do you have as an employee? If you're dealing with an insurance denial, financial questions.
Power of attorney.
Estate planning. Yeah. And so all very important things that people don't, realize they need to start thinking about after a cancer diagnosis. So we're very fortunate that they're going to come up for this event on September 17th. And they're doing 20 to 30-minute one-on-one consultations to provide our patients with a time to review kind of their personal situations and answer questions with an attorney from Cancer Legal Care.
Healthcare directives, if you don't have one, do that. If you don't have your power of attorney, get that taken care of. Those are just two things that are commonsensical that you absolutely have to do, cancer diagnoses or not, right? Are there other community events coming up at the Coburn Healing Center?
Absolutely. Yep. And I spoke briefly about our cancer education and support group earlier. And what that is, Cancer Legal Care is actually presenting at our September support group. Okay. And that's also on September 17th. And that's from 3 to 4:30. And that's for anyone living with cancer and their caregivers. And some other community events, we have a prostate screening night on September 25th. And that is from 4 to 7:30, and it's open to the community with a target audience of men 45 to 70 with no history of prostate cancer, and they're eligible to receive a free PSA test and exam.
Women get prostate cancer, too, so get yourself screened.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Now, also, there's an upcoming art show that we need to know more about.
Yes. So We are going to be showing our work that the patients thriving with cancer did in the last year in the group and the caregivers. And that's going to start on August 21st. It's going to be at the Healing Center for about a week. And then after that, it'll be over at the Coburn Cancer Center for another week.
So how does it work? How does art therapy work?
Yeah, so great question. Art therapy works in that we use art as a way just to process through emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when art really taps into the part of the brain that stores emotions. So this is just a way to bring it out a little bit more. One of the things we like to clarify is that it's not art class. So we're not teaching technique. It's not a place to come to learn how to watercolor, learn how to oil paint. We dabble a little bit in technique, but it's more about just expression. So when people say, oh, I can only draw a stick person, we'll say, well, that's fine. No art ability is necessary. Just come and be there, and the rest kind of unfolds. In fact, we do a lot of things that are abstract, anything and anybody can do. And so we really try to just allow anybody to come so they don't feel threatened.
It works for any kind of recovery that you may be going through, correct? It's not just for cancer.
Yes, absolutely. And so what's magical about art therapy is that, again, it taps into that part of the brain that holds emotions. And so it sort of works without us knowing it's working.
Well, I have to ask you both of this because, unfortunately, we are out of time. But if people want more information about the Coburn Cancer Center, the whole ball of wax, what would be the best thing to do, Nicky, from your perspective? Is there a phone number people could call, go online?
Absolutely. Yep, you can contact our Coburn Healing Center directly. The phone number is 320-229-5100, and they can talk to you about the events that we discussed today or other offerings that are held over at the Healing Center.
Okay. Now, Katie, how about for art therapy?
Yeah, same. If you wanted to contact the number, we also have. We felt like we looked at the website, and it's a little clumsy to get to. So right now, I'm just going to tell you that our art therapy classes are offered on Wednesdays from 10 to 11:30 are patients thriving with cancer. 1 to 2:30 are for caregivers. And then Thursday is open studio 9 to 12. And we have some various other times throughout those two times as well.
And we could just pop on out perhaps and just say, hi, here I am.
Yes. And we'd always love to give people tours, even if you just want to stop by the Healing Center.
If you are a caregiver, take advantage of this. It is so, so important. Nicky Lahr, social worker at the Coburn Cancer Center, the Coburn Healing Center, and Katie Kinzer, art therapist. Thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Bob.
Keep up the great work. AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. You have been listening to Your Health.